This is Margaritaville by Jimmy Buffett. Before I go over the song in its entirety, I'm going to show you the chords you're going to need to play the song. And we'll do them in the order that they occur in the song. The first one is D. The way you create a D is use your first finger on the second fret on the third string, second finger, second fret, first string, and then you have to bring your third finger between the two to the third fret on the second string, just like this. This chord we strum from the fourth string, open string, all the way to the first string. Should sound something like that when you strum it. The next chord you're going to need to know is G. The way to approach learning the G is use your first finger on the second fret on the fifth string, third finger, third fret, first string, and second finger, third fret, sixth string. Should sound like that when you play it. Next we have A7. We approach this one by using our first finger on the second fret, fourth string, and second finger, second fret, second string, and all the rest are open. We're going to strum it from the fifth string down. And lastly, we have a D7 chord. We make this one by using our first finger on the first fret on the second string, second finger, second fret, third string, and third finger, second fret, first string. And we strum this one from the fourth string on down. Should sound something like that when you play it. Now, if you want to find chord charts for this and further instruction on how to create these open chords, Rock Guitar Power has a really good chord tutorial. You may want to check that out. Okay, so let's start learning the song. Now we're going to learn the chord changes to the introduction of the song. In the order that they occur, the chords are D, then G, A7, and back to D. That's D to G to A7 and back to D. Now we're not going to worry so much about the strum yet. We're going to do that in just a little bit. For now we're going to play along with the music with just one strum at a time so that you can see how the chords fit along with the music. There's also a melody part in the steel drums that we're going to go over a little bit later too. So we are going to learn all the parts to this song one at a time. Okay, here's the verse to the song. The way the chords move in the verse is very easy. We're only going to use 3 of the chords that we've learned so far. There is no G in the verse, and we stay on the D chord and the A7 chord for quite some time. And really the only way to catch it is not so much count how many beats or how many strums that you're playing at any given time. I mean, you can do that, but it's pretty complicated and it'll probably be more trouble than it's worth. But instead, just listen to the vocal melody and the chord changes in the background as you play the song. So basically our changes are going to go like this. They're going to start on D, and we're going to stay there for a while. Then we're going to go to A7, back to D, then D7. And the key words that he speaks when you change the chords are going to be this. You're going to listen for the word oil to switch to A7. And you're going to listen for the word boil to switch back to D. And you're going to see what I mean as we play along the music. I'm going to play through the verse twice for you. And as we go, I'm going to give you some cues as to when to switch chords. Okay, here's the chorus to the song. You may want to get out a pencil and jot down the chord changes as I move through them, because they do move around a little bit. It all starts on a G chord, moves to A7, then to D, then D7, back to G, A7, D, D7. So that little G, A7, D, D7 thing happens twice. Then we're going to go G, A7, D, A7, G. Back to A7, and back to D, where the verse starts again. I'll go through that one again for you. We have G, A7, D, D7. G, A7, D, D7. G, A7, D, A7, G, A7, back to D, where the verse will begin again. So now I'll play it along with the music for you, so that you can see my fingers changing along with the chords, and I'll shout out the chord names as we go so you can play along. And then we're going to move along to the strum pattern. So there we have it. You know the verse and the chorus, and that's just about the whole song. There is a little rhythm part under the solo, which is basically the verse abbreviated into the solo, and we'll go over that too. But let's next work on the strum. The rhythm under the solo is a little bit different than the rhythm under the verse. Not so much the strumming. The strumming is the same, but the chord changes are abbreviated. He doesn't go through the entire verse and chorus underneath the solo. The solo is fairly short. What's going to happen there is we're going to move from D to A7 as usual. 4 measures through of D. Go to A7. We're not going to stay there long. We're going to go right to G, to A7, D, A7. Really similar to the chorus, to A7, and then back to the verse. And the best way to convey this one is to just play it along with the music for you and shout the chords out as I go. I'll explain what's going on. So the rhythm under the solo is kind of like an abbreviated verse and then straight into the chorus rhythm. Okay, here's the strum to the song. Here's what it'll sound like when you play it. And what I'm doing here is keeping my right hand very steady. As you can see, I'm kind of moving it like a pendulum on a clock. If you keep that motion, then everything's going to sound nice and smooth and rhythmic. And now we're going to choose which notes we want to hit when we strum it while we're keeping our hand rhythmic. The strum goes like this. We're going to go down, up, down, miss, up, down, down, up, miss, up, down, up, miss, up, down, up, miss, up, down, up. And when I say miss, I'm doing a downstroke. However, I'm missing the strings. I'm not hitting them. So real slowly, we have a downstroke where we hit the strings. Then we're going to come back up for a down up stroke. Then we're going to miss the strings again with our downstroke, and then we're going to go up, down, up. Again, that's down. A little bit of a miss here. Down, up. Miss the strings on the way down. Up, down, up. Down, down, up, miss, up, down, up. And that strum is constant throughout the song. You do want to try to accentuate the chord changes with the downstroke so that the listener can hear what's going on tonally as you switch through the changes. I'm going to give you a little example of that right here. Okay, now you can keep an eye on both my right hand and left hands and see how as I make the changes, they always occur on the downstroke at the beginning of the strum pattern. So when I change to say from D to A7, when I make that switch, it always falls on the downstroke. Here it is back to D, to D7, see, I'm accentuating the beginning stroke on each chord change. So there's the coordination of the right hand and left hand, and that strum is basically continued throughout the whole song, with the exception of the part where he goes, "Some people claim that there's a woman to blame," in which case you just strum each one once, D, A7 to G. And you can hear that in the song, it's pretty clear. So I'm not going to go over that part along with the music. It's a very short segment, and to loop it would be kind of frivolous. So we'll just take my word for it. When you get to that part of the song, play each chord once. Let's move on to the melody. This is the melody that's played on the steel drums in the beginning of the song, the part that goes like this. And I've arranged it for guitar so that when you play along with the song or play it for your friends, you can play one of the parts of the song that is most recognizable. Here's how you want to do it. You start with your first finger on the 5th fret on the 1st string, and then put your 3rd finger on the 7th fret on the 2nd string, and we're going to strum only those 2 strings. And we're going to strum them 3 times. Then we're going to move this whole chord shape down to the 3rd fret, and then bring it back up. So far we have this. And we do that twice. For the chord that's a little higher, we're going to bring our 2nd finger, just kind of slide it up here to 8th fret on the 2nd string, and have our 1st finger maintain its spot here on the 1st string and slide that up to the 7th fret. So it's going to look like this chord here. So we're going to play that 3 times. Back to our original chord, down to the 3rd fret, and then we're going to use our 1st finger on the 2nd fret, 1st string, and 2nd finger on the 3rd fret, 2nd string, for our final chord. And you'll notice this chord shape here is the same one we used up here. So we have 2 chord shapes we're looking at. We're looking at this shape here and this shape here. And when we put it all together, it's going to sound something like this. And there we have it, the melody that is played at the beginning of the song. Here's a few little extra ideas you can use to liven up the song as you play it. I know it can get a little bit boring, especially if you're a more advanced player, to just hang out on the same chord and strum it. So what we're going to do here is add in some suspended notes. And suspended notes are notes that don't necessarily belong to the chord, but they don't change the tonality of it either, meaning they don't change the overall sound. You see here I'm playing a D and a variation on the D that doesn't really change the sound of the chord that much. It still sounds like a D with just an extra note thrown in. And usually you can achieve these by either removing a finger from the chord or adding one to the chord. What I just did here on D is I started here with our regular D chord and removed my second finger from the chord to expose the open first string, and that's called the D suspended second. Another really cool one is the D suspended 4, where you can add your pinky, just kind of tuck it under your third finger to the third fret on the first string. And if you're familiar with hammer-ons and pull-offs, these sound really good. If you hammer on and pull off of the various notes, it gives a little bit of a smoother sound then. See how that pick sound isn't quite as smooth as. So there's our variations on the D chord. On the A7 chord, it's the same idea. You can add a note in, for example, your third finger on the third fret on the second string to create a suspended 4 chord. You can remove your second finger to create a suspended second chord. So there's a few ideas that you can use to embellish the song a little bit and kind of make it your own. I do a one-man acoustic performer kind of thing down here in Tampa, and I play this song a lot, probably too much, because a lot of tourists love to hear it. And I tend to use these ideas all the time to make the song sound a little more lively as I sing and play it. They also kind of give it a little more of a Caribbean feel, which is the feel of this type of Jimmy Buffett music to begin with. So let's go ahead now and take all the ideas we've learned so far and play along with the whole song.